All right. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Podcast, where we discuss starting, growing, and strategies for exiting the mortgage and real estate sales businesses. Today, I have Fernando Alvarez, been a good friend of mine for a few years now. We met when we were both at an open house, actually. He was doing an open house, and I wandered in, and it was friendship at first sight, if you will. Anyways, Fernando's been in the game for a while. He's done sales in the Bay Area and in Las Vegas, kind of back and forth for the past decade or better. And he's had highs and lows, great years of success, lots of insights that I'm really excited to hear about. So without further ado, Fernando, thanks for joining. And why don't you go ahead and tell us how it all began? How did you get started in real estate?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trevor, for inviting me onto your show today. It's a pleasure talking with you once again. So it all started really coming out of college. I got a job working for Pulte Homes, which is one of the top national builders there in Las Vegas. Um, I didn't know how well a career real estate sales could have been. So I did what's called at that time relationship. I believe it was called the customer relationship manager position. Basically, we would help the new construction homeowners from the time that they purchased the home till about the 2-year mark, fix any issues that they had with the home, any warrantable issues. We would send out the contractors. They would fix it. We just make sure that they're really happy with their home for those couple of years that they were there. After a couple of years, I realized that I was better served being in a sales position. I got my license. I interviewed for a sales role within that company, Pulte Homes. I wasn't hired. Soon after, I left and I began my real estate journey. There in Las Vegas, it all started. I joined a team in 2008, which was probably the worst time to get started in real estate. We were selling nothing but foreclosures and short sales, and it was a stressed market for a couple of years. Ultimately ended up moving back to the Bay Area where I live now. That was about 10 years ago when I got my license here in California. And I'd say for the past 10 years, 90% of my business has been focused here in Silicon Valley. And I'd say probably about 10% of my business is still focused there in Las Vegas.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, those were some tough times. So getting into the builders just kind of exposed you to the possibilities in real estate, right? And how you're kind of hamstrung from doing a broad level of sales when you're working in a place like that. But tell me, so so you got back to the Bay. I imagine it was more or less like starting a new business, even though you've been exposed to real estate. So how did you kind of kick things off there to get yourself busy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was in Las Vegas, I was part of a real estate team. A lot of the leads were provided to us. They came through different forms of marketing, including radio, relationship marketing, and other, print and mail marketing as well. So when I moved back to the Bay Area and I got my real estate license, I decided I wanted to be a solo agent. I learned a lot when I was on a team, but I wanted to go off my own. So essentially what I did those first few years, it was basically anything and everything. I knocked on doors, I made cold calls, I dropped off flyers, I hosted open houses, I would host seminars, whatever idea that would come that was worth giving a shot. That's what I did. And I'd say for the first maybe 6 years or so, every year my income would increase, sometimes by a little bit, sometimes by a lot. And it really wasn't until like my 7th or 8th year back in the Bay Area where I finally had a year that wasn't as good as the year previous to that.
Okay, cool. So you tried a lot of things. What would you say, and that's good, incremental growth year after year. I suspect you were making it into the six-figure range after a few years. What would you say? Well, first of all, when did you cross that threshold into the six-figure year as a typical year for you? And what did you find were really the best marketing efforts or tools in general that helped you get sustained real estate business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it was my third year where I just got to that number. But my fourth year when I moved over to a new company, that's where I had my largest exponential growth. And that's the company where I'm at today. But if I were to say the number one thing or the number one tactic as far as with regards to marketing or as far as how to get clients or how to get clients, over the last few years, it's really been working on my referrals, working on my database, the people that I know, reaching out to people, having that relationship, staying in touch, being top of mind, providing value, and giving reasons for them to again reach out to me, and whether they want to buy again, sell again, which I've had clients now I've worked with 3-4 times. And then yeah, just basically try to think of something creative every single month and have a reason to reach out.
So like most people in this industry, I mean, once you're in it for a while, referrals just basically are your business. What are you doing to stay top of mind with your past clients and keep those referrals coming in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it could be something like this where I'll just do a 1-minute recording of myself. I'll send it to them and I'll just talk about something about the market, or maybe it would be Christmas time or New Year's or a house anniversary. I would send them a video like this. Maybe I send them a card. Or could send them kind of an update with regards to the value of their property, comparative market analysis. And then last year I hosted a client appreciation event. We had coffee. About 10 of my past clients showed up and we had a great conversation for about 3-4 hours. So just little different things like that I can think about in the past. And I've also done like dropping off pies and a few other things as well.
Do you keep a schedule of these things you need to do or have done? Or do you plan ahead? Is it, how systematic is it? Or are you kind of just in most of the time in the moment, just always thinking about it and doing what seems the best thing to do at the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I probably think about it 2-3 months in advance. That way it's never like, oh, what do I do this month? What idea could I have this month as far as to reach out to my past clients and my database? So I'll probably think about for the quarter in advance, say this quarter, I want to send a video, I want to send a card, and I want to send a letter. That could be an example. It's kind of what I'm doing this quarter. And then next quarter, I could do something different. Next quarter, it could be, I could host an event. I can I can provide a market analysis. I can, make a phone call, whatever I can come up with that I feel is valuable at that time. And sometimes it's different. Sometimes each client, they have different situations. Like a client, it might be their birthday or their house anniversary. So I wouldn't do that for everybody, but, for them, it'd be something a little different with them.
One thing stood out, a phone call. Sometimes it's just as simple as just picking up the phone and calling someone from the past, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually this lady, I read an article. She charges $480 an hour to teach you how to get over your fear of using the phone. Now I thought about it. I did the math, right? If this lady works 40 hours a week, she probably doesn't, but let's just say she did. That's $1 million a year business, just teaching people to get over their fear of the phone. So, I mean, long story short, there's all this technology today, right? We have social media, we text each other, we email each other. But what's the most effective? What's the most effective when you can't meet someone in person? It's a phone call.
Smile and dial.
Smile and dial, yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. So tell me, Fernando, what are you looking to do, right? Where is your business going in real estate sales, and how are you getting it there? What's the next step?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the next step for me, I would say, is doing a little bit of transition this year. And it's something that I've thought about, realistically over the last, year or two, where for the most part, I feel like I work with more buyer clients than seller clients. Kind of just been my nature to, you meet someone, they're interested in purchasing a house. You want to see how you can help them, get them into their very first house, or if they're looking to upgrade. But kind of, we all know in real estate, right? Like the people that list have more time freedom, right? Have a little more control with regards to their income and the way their business is run. So now what I'm starting to do is implement more strategies and systems to acquire more listings. And I got a few different things that I'm going to test out, a few different niches. I think what's important is that you don't try to just do what everybody else does, because then you're entering a very, competitive atmosphere, right? So you try to find your blue ocean, right? Who are the people that like you can help with regards to your specific message, or maybe you create a message for that specific person that has a certain problem. And so I'm gonna start focusing on that to try to grow my listing business.
Very cool. Any little nuggets that you mind giving away on, these niches that you're really trying to get into?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few that I've kind of thought about, right? One could be outright, right? Like they've maybe owned the house for 15 years, 20 years. They own it outright. Maybe they're what they call a tired landlord, right? Tired of tenants and toilets, right? We've all heard those terms. And so that's someone that I can possibly reach out to. Of course, if it's a house that maybe it's in bad shape, possible opportunity to purchase it myself as an investment opportunity, or partner up with somebody to to purchase it, to either do a BRRRR, which is the whole buy, rent, rehab, refinance, repeat model, or flip it. Or if not, hey, maybe they want to list it and try to see what they can get on the open market. So that's one strategy, is reaching out to those types of folks. Another strategy is kind of the how do I put it, the typical going after expired strategy. But I would go after expireds that have been on the market, that have not been that were on the market years ago. And that's how I've gotten some of these expired listings in the past. Not the people are getting called by 10, 12 realtors today, but that no one calls them anymore, right? Because the listing expired 3-4 years ago. And you said, hey, by the way, I see that you had your home on the market 3 years ago. A lot has changed in 3 years, and your home today is worth a lot more than what you had it listed for. Are you still thinking about selling?
I like that one. That sounds super cool. And you can just pick up these. Well, I guess you just look on the MLS for that, right? And then
yeah, you can look on the MLS. You still got to source the phone numbers, so you can either skip trace them through something like Batch Leads, or you can purchase a service like RedX or Vulcan 7, and then you'll have the phone numbers and emails. No one really replies to the emails because they're cold emails, really. But usually you get a list about 5 or 6 numbers and just call down the line, right? Well, hopefully one of those is the owner, and just have a conversation with them. I'll tell you something else. I'll tell you something else that's worked as well, that I should do more of, because it has worked. I just haven't been consistent with it. Whenever I have a buyer that's looking to purchase in a specific community, and if they're pretty committed to that community, I've sent these cards out and say, hey, I have a buyer, and I'll list the buyer's first names, right? I don't list their last name. I don't list, any other personal details. But my buyer, Jim and Jane, are looking to purchase in your neighborhood. We just made an offer on 123 Main Street. Have you thought about selling? And I've had some people that have reached out to me, and I've had conversations because of that card.
Very cool. All right, man. I really like those. I hope they work out, man. I'm sure I'll hear about it. That's super cool. Now, look, you're in this position that I see a lot, and I've been in before, where like you had a lot of business, but you're still always, and you got a pretty good flow, but the chase never stops. You're always going after more deals, new strategies. And then obviously when you have things in escrow, it's hard to take a vacation or a break. So what are you doing to set yourself up for retirement, if you will? What are you doing to invest or produce a passive cash flows for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something like you had mentioned, we had this conversation a few times in the past. And sometimes I have this conversation with other colleagues and people in the business, because the reality is that you hunt what you kill in real estate, right? Essentially, you get someone in escrow and they close and they buy, and they may not need you for another 5, 6, 7, 10 years, right? And then hopefully they do keep you top of mind if they have a friend or a family member. But the reality is, it's not residual. It's not like selling insurance where every month or every year you get a check for someone paying their premium, right? So because the nature of the business, it requires you to basically start over every single day. Like one sales trainer, Mark Ferry, would always say that every day you're unemployed. So you have to go out there and, get hired by somebody, right? Can also create a little bit of a burnout, where you feel like, man, like it'd be nice to still be making money, even if I don't want to work today. So as we've discussed before, real estate investing is something that I've considered recently. So this year, my plan is I'm now in the process of purchasing a primary residence, where I'm planning to house hack a couple of the bedrooms to cover pretty much most of my mortgage payment, maybe about 80% of my mortgage payment there. And then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a second property strictly for investment. And I'm kind of considering a couple different options. Either one, kind of follow the model that you're doing, do a short-term rental with that second property. Or if not, the other two options I'm considering is maybe doing like travel nurses, because you tend to be able to charge them a little extra because they're not there the entire year. They're only there for 3 or 4 months. Or maybe do a charge by room model as well, which will also make more money than if you just kind of had a standard long-term tenant.
I love it, man. All furnished rental ideas, all
Yeah.
variations of that. I love it.
Yep.
That's I believe in it. I think that's where the best returns are at. And I'm super excited to see it. I love house hacking. I love seeing people use their primary, like eventually find a way to live for free and get other people to pay your mortgage down. So wish you nothing but the best, man. I'm sure you're going to pull it off. If someone's interested in working with you in the Bay Area, or I know you're also plans to kind of dive into the Texas real estate market. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the home buying process, or just purchasing a house, selling a house, investing, or just having a conversation about real estate, I'd really say the best way to reach me is just send me an email. My first name is Fernando and then EQ1RE.com, spelled out except the number one. And love to connect with you and see how I can help you out.
And just to be clear, you're looking on taking on a teammate, right, here in the near future to help you with the buyer, help you keep the buyer deals going while you focus on your listings, right?
Yeah, so that's something that me and another colleague here here at EQ1 we've been discussing, just again to try to not lose any opportunities by having someone help us with the buyer with the buyers that we'll take on. So that's something that we started the process of discussing how we'll structure it, how it all work out, and essentially, like you just said, right, it'll allow us more time to go out there and focus on working with more sellers and more listings.
I mean, and at the end of the day, man, I've seen your list. You got over 3,000 people on it that like would be warm leads to anyone that comes and work with you. So at the end of the day, if there's a motivated new agent out there, or maybe even someone that's not new but just motivated, you're willing to get up and hustle hard every day. I personally think that you would be a great advisor to that person and provide them with a lot of value. So anyone out there listening that's maybe looking for that in the Bay Area, reach out to my man Fernando. He's gonna take care of you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and absolutely, right? It's like, you only have so much time of the day, and these are people that I've met over the last, 10 years. They may have not been ready, say 4, 5, 6 years ago when I reached out to them initially. And since then, I've sent them emails and property listings and whatnot. But you're right. It takes someone to pick up the phone and just start calling everybody on that list, having a conversation. And you never know. Someone that I may have spoken with 3 or 4 years ago is ready to buy today.
Indeed. I'm sure someone is. I'm sure at least someone is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Fernando, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for coming on my show, man. Dropping some golden nuggets for everyone to listen to, and sure I'll have you back on again someday, man. Best of luck with what you're doing. I'm sure it's gonna be great. We're gonna talk about it later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Trevor.